right, welcome back to the Built to Grow podcast from your host, Tim Lyons, back in the saddle in the studio at HQ, Scottsdale, boop, boop. Joined by Randy. What's up, buddy?
Boop. I'm telling you, every time.
Yeah.
Something's going to get me to laugh. You never see it coming.
I don't even know what I'm going to say as I'm saying it. That's the best.
I can tell. That's probably why it gets me every time.
All right. So we are back in the saddle. Lots of big things happening, guys. You probably heard a little bit of the last episode of Black Friday workshop coming up or a webinar. You guys are not going to want to miss that. winninggym.com/BF23. Get registered now. That's going to be a good one. But that's not what this episode today is about. Today, we are talking about, it's almost like a recap of something we talked about a couple, maybe 10, 12 episodes ago.
If that.
And we're talking about the process of, converting leads into clients at your gym. And, like I said in the last episode, there's a lot of ways to skin a cat in the business. You can go with like what we've been doing, where you automate the whole process and people book appointments on their own. They come in. But there's a lot of chatter in the market, and I guess in the fitness industry, about, hey, we should put this call in front of the appointment so you can kind of pre-qualify somebody and pre-sell them, and then they're going to come in and be an easier sell when they come in.
Yes.
And I heard it. I was like, yeah, I understand it. Let me try it, because I'm not sold on just because somebody's saying something is going to work for us, right?
The belief is that it's going to give you a greater overall conversion.
Yeah.
Of total leads to members.
And so there's, before we get too deep into this, we want to make it very clear that there are two paths here. Number one, we book an appointment right in person. Somebody comes in and you close a deal. That's I guess, plan A. Mm-hmm. That's the way we've been always doing it. And plan B is like, hey, let's, instead of booking them for an in-person consultation, let's do a phone call first. Call it whatever you want, a discovery call, a pre-qualification call, just call it whatever it is. And then on that call, you then book them for the next appointment, which is the in-person to close the deal. On paper, there's a pro and a con right off the bat. Yep. On paper, I'm like, okay, so you're asking, there's more friction to the point of sale for the consumer. You have two more conversion opportunities here that you could either go up or down. They've got to book a call and they got to show up for the call. Mm-hmm. That's on paper says, hey man, this is making it harder for the consumer. On the other side of it is like, well, wait a minute. You're not going to waste your time in person because you're going to kind of pre-qualify, and people are more likely to show up to a phone call, quote unquote, than in person. That's the thought.
And the idea is like a shorter, 7 to 10 minute phone call.
Yeah. Yeah, and so it sounds like, hey, yeah, that makes sense. Let's have somebody can just do it from their car. They don't have to come in. Sounds like it's a better deal. So we did a true A/B split test. We hired a company to help book calls, and then we ran our old play as is, right? And I'm not going to share names of companies. I'm not here to throw anybody under the bus at any. I mean, we did a straight test, dollar for dollar. Ad for ad were the same. The only difference was let's go ahead and book a call first versus let's just have them come in and book the in-person first.
Yes.
Okay. So I will tell you the results are dramatic. And we're so dramatic, we shut it off that fast. Okay. So the goal was let's run, a couple months worth of this, 3 months. And, after working with Zach's like, hey, this isn't working.
Yeah.
The new way isn't working. So spoiler, sorry, but I'm gonna give you true numbers. So we spent $4,000 on both campaigns, each. So 8,000 total. It
was a 34 and change.
It was 3,860 each, somewhere in there. 3,800. So the straight to in-person resulted in 6 memberships. The discovery call first resulted in 1 membership. Both were below what we really like to see anyway. Just seems to be a bad month overall. Now, I will tell you that in August, now this test that we're talking about today was done in September. Okay, so we're just right at the end. We just finished it. Prior to that, in August, we had run just our normal standard operation, and we did 18 memberships. Okay, so you can see this flip of the month changed the totals regardless. So correct. Now, why would that be? School, could be summer coming on. I mean, there's a lot of weird reasons, and that's something that everybody needs to understand is you may be in a bad month. There's no reason to throw out your entire process because something sounds better, right?
Yeah.
Ours was great. our August was great, and we still did it. So we were actually coming off of an amazing month. And by the way, that was 18 paid conversions. We had also another like 5 referrals that walked in and closed. So great month of August. Now we're into September. 6 memberships on the straight to appointment, and 1 on the discovery call first. Now, what's interesting here, Randy, is the discovery call first ad campaign generated more leads. Okay, so there's more leads. We had 32 calls booked, and I think 10 of them were actually completed.
Yeah, I believe.
Okay, so here we are. We did 10 discovery calls.
And more opportunities.
What do
Well,
you mean?
I mean, there were more opportunities left to right with the discovery calls than there were the straight to in person. More opportunities to total leads.
So because the call was first, you have in person or the phone call consultation, and then the in person. So while we had more calls booked, I think 28 calls booked, 10 showed. Okay, so let's talk about that. 10 showed, and only 1 showed up in person after the discovery call. So while you're looking at it, and we closed that deal, and while you're looking at it, okay, so you had 10 calls booked and only 1 of them showed in person. What happened between the two? Because we booked everybody in for an in-person consultation off the discovery call. Like everybody seemed to be a decent fit or should have been, but yet only 1 showed up.
Isn't that weird? Because again, the whole idea there is that you're reducing the operational struggle or the friction at the consultation by doing the call, but yet less even less showed up.
But if you were to look at just our closing percentage on the discovery call first, you're going to get a number of 100% closing.
Yeah.
Okay. So you need to dig into numbers. This is the whole, who's doing the research study on the commercial to give you the results, tweaking the data to make it sound like favorable to you. So if I were to tell you before we started this podcast and say, hey, we ran a split test and we had a 100% closing rate on our discovery calls first that ended up showing up in person, you'd be like, oh, that's the way to go. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, when you look at the data, it was only 1 conversion. 1 showed, 1 converted off of 10 discovery calls. Now, what else is interesting is we had 25 starting point books, but only 9 of those were completed. 6 of those converted into members. Okay, interesting scenario, right?
Yeah.
So while the show rate was 47% for the, the in-person, it was only 43% for the call. So it's just, at the end of the day, all I care about is how many memberships popped out the back.
Correct.
Right? All these steps in front of it don't matter unless you get a conversion on the end. So if we're looking at left to right, A to B, discovery call first, 1 sale, straight to appointment, 6 sales, the obvious winner is straight to an appointment.
Yeah.
And it kind of, I guess, solidifies our belief that we need to lower the friction to the sale. Now, are there some good reasons to do a discovery call first? Sure. I would say absolutely there are. And here's a big one. The argument that I hear a lot is, I don't have the personnel to be standing around and waiting for somebody to come in.
Yeah.
And so I need to make sure that they're a good fit on a phone call before that they come in. Now, that makes sense. However, you had more no-shows in the discovery call to in-person.
Sure.
Than we had just straight to appointment. So that kind of goes out the window. Like, did it really help? No, it didn't.
And that doesn't help that problem at all.
It does. It made
it worse. Actually,
it made. You had to be on the call first, and then you
have somebody sitting around waiting, and more people didn't show up.
The other reason why you would think a discovery call first might make more sense is like, hey, I'm getting in front of a lot of people that can't afford us. I need to let them know and find out if they can even, if they're a good fit before they come in. Therefore, they have some sort of sense of the idea of what we cost before they show up. And if they do show up, then they kind of already know, and that becomes not a non-issue. Makes sense. I can't say it worked for us. Now, I will tell you, we also tested in 3 other Iron Circle gyms, and they all had very similar results to ours.
Yeah.
In fact, one of the words I heard was we got slaughtered on that. Okay. So while there's a lot of shiny objects out in the marketplace, the only way you're going to know if it works for you is you have to test.
Yeah.
If your way, and here's the odd thing about this. In a normal scenario, like where we had a beautiful August, you wouldn't throw a new scenario, because why fix something that's not broken? Mm-hmm. We did it anyway. And now, we just turned it off. And I told the company, look, man, I ran an agency for years. I understand it works in some markets and some don't, because we could never figure out why something worked in Washington or Tacoma or South Carolina, but didn't work in Miami or Texas or, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Yep. And look, we dissected our campaigns 5,000 ways. I was so adamant to try to understand why a campaign, word for word, image for image, worked in one market and not another market. And so what did we do? We did a giant discovery. We went deep into our own campaigns. We looked at our landing pages. We looked at colors, buttons. We even split test whether or not there was a female gym owner pictured versus a male gym owner pictured. Was that the reason why one converted better than another? Was it the smile of the gym owner versus a non-smile, crossed arms versus hands on side? Was it the price point? Was it the name? Was it the gym colors?
Oh, yeah.
Was it a B market versus A market versus C market? In all things considered, there was no definitive result as to why one campaign in one market worked and another didn't. It didn't make any, still make no sense. Yeah. So going into this discovery call versus in-person straight, it may work for you, it may not. And you have to listen to yourself. You have to test it.
Yeah.
And so 4 Iron Circle gyms completely collapsed on this call first idea. It made no difference. In fact, it made completely worse. While there are a few Iron Circle gyms that swear by using it, while there was a gym in Naperville. Steve and Kate, they only have done the call first, and they have like 90% close rates. It's the only way they do business. It makes total sense for them. Great. And I would argue, why would you even go the other way if it works so well for you this way? We had another Evans in, where's he out of? Pennsylvania. Is he? He's
one of those states. There's so many of the East Coast states that are East Coast gyms now.
Anyways, he added it in, and Delaware. It worked for him because he was having the cost issue happening. So listen, there's reasons to do and reasons not to do. I wanted to give you our results, and it didn't work for us.
And I want to just to stress that point. I mean, we called, like, the whole reason we were doing it is because this is optimizing a process, right? You don't just throw away the whole process because you think something else is going to work, or somebody else comes along and says, hey, we're doing this. This is better. Go do it. Unless you test it in your market and your facility, it might not have the same effects. And that's the biggest thing, is a true A/B split test in a process is how you optimize a process. Changing the process is not optimizing a process. Removing, or layering in, putting something else into it. It's a complete change. Optimization is the tweaking of, what's there by having the data tell you what changes to make. And to your point, you had that kind of a feeling that it wasn't going to do for us what others saw, or, others were raving about. But it's because we know that, when you add friction or you add another conversion percentage, you have fall off, you have drop off, and you have, you give people the option of not showing up. And so we didn't have the operational problems. And so I didn't see, the need like some other gym owners might. And, it's unfortunate that money had to be spent to prove it, but at least we have a definitive answer, and it's in alignment with what we felt was true. So that's confident.
And we're always going to test things first before we roll it out. And I would tell you, like, when we were doing the agency stuff, every campaign we ran here first. And I'll tell you, like, our cost per lead at this facility in this market is way higher than almost every gym that we work with. Like, and we're still running the same place, year after year, tweaking some stuff. We could take our campaigns and run it in a B market, and they would
Oh, they'd get
crush.
10x the results sometimes.
Right.
Yeah.
It is what it is. You're at a I guess I don't know what's the word. You're at the mercy? Of your competition. You're at the mercy of some bad decisions that you made years ago on your ad account
or something.
Your ad account where you got banned and got your ad count back. You still got black marks on it, and there's all these like algorithm underground theories. But I've asked some Maxwell Finn. This was deep in the weeds. I was like, can the credit card that's on an ad account affect the performance of said ad account? He's like, well, what do you mean? If that credit card was on a bad ad account and you put that same credit card on another, he goes, absolutely.
For sure.
That credit card's tied to bad performance. It's going to relate that same bad performance to a fresh ad account. I'm like, how is that even possible? Like, he's like, yes, he confirmed it.
Yeah.
And he was deep in the weeds with Meta and all those guys. He has like reps at every company. He's big in TikTok and all that stuff. So I was like, well, that was one theory that we had as to why it would work in one market versus another. Bad reviews, good reviews, all those things. So
it was wild. But to your point, I mean, there was nothing until you get in there and you test it. I mean, we have always said the marketplace is the ultimate decider, right? We bring what we feel is best to the marketplace, and the marketplace tells us how well that's going to work, right? Whether it be your offer, whether it be in your advertising, whether it be I guess any of those aspects of business. Ultimately, it's the people that you're selling to that are going to have the ultimate say.
Yeah.
And you as the business owner have to respond accordingly. You should know how to respond, right, in a process or something like that. If you just throw your hands up and say, "Oh, I don't know what to do. This process doesn't work," you're done. But that's the fun of being a gym owner, is going and challenging and learning and finding new ways.
Solving big problems. So listen, guys, that was kind of our results episode. There was a lot of people continuing to ask me, hey, how did it turn out? How did it turn out? Because they want to know if their way is the best. And the answer is it may or may not be. I mean, for us, it was a definitive no. Do not add a discovery call into our conversion process, because it collapsed it. And same with the 3 other Iron Circle gyms that we work closely with on the same style of campaign, and there's others that it works for them. So like, I'm not here to say not try it. I'm just saying this is what we got here. And if I'm you and I'm looking at my process and it's not broken, I wouldn't try to throw anything in. And if you are going to try this, you have to leave your current process in place while you do a separate campaign to see if the new way is going to beat it. And that's this true A/B split test, guys. So don't throw out your entire process because you heard of somebody saying they got great results out there. You need to take everything that you hear with a grain of salt. There are a lot of over promises out there in the marketplace. Hopefully this helps you guys. Until next episode, guys, keep changing lives. We'll see you on the next show. Bye.
All right, and thank you for listening to that episode of the Built to Grow podcast, where we help gym owners win. Now, do you want to connect with me and other gym owners online? All you need to do is join our private Facebook group, Business Talk with Fitness Professionals. Just head on over to Facebook and type in Business Talk with Fitness Professionals, and when you do, we're going to give you our 10 marketing strategies 7-figure gym owners use to win. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Until then, keep building something great.